And hello again, wrestling fans. My name is Sean, coming to you from London, Ontario, and welcome to episode number 33 of This Week in History. This week we're going to look at the week of July 30th to August 5th. I've been away for a little bit. We pre-recorded a couple other things beforehand, so it's been a bit since we've done one of these shows, or any podcast for that matter. Summer's been up in the air, but I want to thank you for joining us during your Thursday lunchtime, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, and of course, listening to us on our audio versions of Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, anywhere else you get your podcast from. We definitely appreciate that. You can always contact us by going to scumbagswrestling@gmail.com, over on our Facebook page, or check out our website, scumbagswrestling.ca. Now, I want to remind everybody that we are brought to you by our friends over at CoolBet. Remind you to stay cool and bet responsibly. And we want to encourage you to go over to our Pro Wrestling Tees store at prowrestlingtees.com/scumbagswrestling, where you can purchase any of our 4 t-shirts, including the special Ontario Indie Wrestling comic book cover, where the money from that will go to Steven's Wrestling Journey. You can get any of our other designs and get your Scumbags gear. We're going to be looking at doing some new designs for the fall and definitely in the new year. So get these designs while they're still available over at prowrestlingtees.com. So, want to thank you for being part of this. And like I said, we're going to do history, but we can't do it without Jonesy over in Niagara Falls. How are you, Jonesy?
I'm pretty good. Just coming fresh off of doing the London Ribfest. It went quite well. Attendance was close to 2019 for that area of Victoria Park. It did very well, and a lot of people are already talking about next year's festivals, and I've been asked to now do 17 of them next year, so I'm not sure about that, but I think I will, but I think I may not. I don't know.
Okay, it's still early, and next season is still a long while away. I want to encourage everybody and thank everybody who did turn out to London Ribfest, making that a success. London, Ontario, on the map as one of the first places doing actual festivals. And if you can support things that are local, definitely go out and do so. Ontario Independent Wrestling is getting hot again. You'll find out more details about that later on the Ontario event listings during the regular podcast. And of course, there is also one at the end of this month with a hot sauce festival at Budweiser Gardens. Heat Wave is back. They got an outdoor event outside Budweiser Gardens 28th and 29th of August, I believe. And those are our friends over from London Comic Con, and those guys putting that on with Heat Wave. So get out there, enjoy the weather, get out there and support local. And we're in London, Ontario. If you're anywhere in Ontario, you basically only pretty much a 2-hour drive from us at most for any major places, and you can get here and enjoy what we have to offer. So do so, and let's get on with This Week in History, July 30th to August 5th.
And we'll probably keep it under an hour this week, as it's a shorter, it's about 8 pages long. Plus, I am minus a screen, so I'm mostly going to be looking at the script and not the pictures coming up, but I will try. So here we go. July 30th. I'm going to start with the lovely Miss Elizabeth. 36 years ago at a WWF Championship Wrestling taping in Poughkeepsie, New York, Miss Elizabeth made her WWF debut. Miss Elizabeth would be revealed to be the manager of Randy Macho Man Savage after many managers were after the gig. Apparently, Melissa Ann Hyatt, who did work for the WWF in 1987 as the host of the short-lived interview segment Missy's Manor, also got the job as Savage's Manor. Almost got the job as Savage's manager. And I didn't know that Missy Hyatt actually worked for WWF first before her WCW days.
I was thrown off by that too. I'd heard about it, but I never saw Missy Hyatt being a part of WWE. And I do love the way they did with Savage, and didn't realize that they did it beforehand with him, like they did again with Bam Bam Bigelow when he came in. But I love that idea where all the managers are trying to get this hot free agent, and each time that role was done, that storyline was done, all the managers got swerved by having somebody that wasn't even there show up. In this case, the lovely Miss Elizabeth, and we saw the impact she had on the Macho Man's career and wrestling in general. We recently talked about her passing in May, but even with, like I said, with Bam Bam, they brought in Oliver Humperdinck. It's a good kind of story and a swerve. Can't overdo it, but you can't really do it right now unless AEW ends up doing it with all the managers that they have.
Mm-hmm. So 20 years ago on Raw from Philly, X-Pac defeated Billy Kidman in a title-for-title match to retain the WWF Light Heavyweight Championship and win the WCW Cruiserweight Championship for a second time. Booker T defeated Kurt Angle in a no-DQ match to regain the WCW World Heavyweight Championship to become the five-time, yada, 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 WCW champ. 11 years ago at a Pro Wrestling Guerrilla card, Scorpio Sky defeated Scott Lost. This was billed as Lost's final match. Lost is one of the founders of PWG. He is now a comic book artist and did get back in the ring in 2011 for an all-star match. 9 years ago, the 1000th and first episode of Monday Night Raw happened. The night started hot as a fire on the Raw set, paused fans from coming in to the arena. The fans would still be piling in as the show was set to begin. On the show, Randy Orton would return from a 60-day suspension for violating the WWE wellness policy. And the main event saw John Cena and The Big Show go to a no contest in a number one contenders match for the WWE Championship.
Yeah, and they even had a appearance with CM Punk doing a pipe bomb sit-in on the Raw commentating desk at the time. And in this picture that's on the screen, he's delivering a speech with Jerry Lawler, just sitting there watching him. And we'll probably end up seeing more like this if the rumors are true that CM Punk is AEW bound.
Yes. It's a 74th birthday for mega superstar Arnold Schwarzenegger. And we know lots about him, so I don't really have to go through his history. July 31st, though we could if you want. What's your favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger moment in wrestling? How about that?
Well, I do believe he was on one of the early editions of SmackDown and was handed a championship belt. And if I recall right, he did also take out Triple H on that night.
Yes, I do remember that. So we're going to move on to July 31st. 42 years ago at a WWF taping of Championship Wrestling, Roddy Piper and Tony Atlas both made their WWF debuts. Piper would only stay briefly for 3 matches in MSG. Lee then returned for his big run in '84. In Tony's first year in the WWF saw him to be the first to press slam and pin Hulk Hogan in the WWF. Mr. USA's win came with an asterisk, of course. Hogan's foot was on the bottom rope.
No way.
Yes, it.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. Pardon me.
It's hard to believe that Piper was there just for a brief time and then came back and was such a superstar and being the catalyst to WrestleMania, first main event, and then being a big part of WrestleMania 2. and everything they did for WWE, but only a short time with 3 matches in his first run.
I love the Rowdy one. 37 years ago in Tokyo, Japan, Giant Baba defeated Stan Hansen to win the PWF World Heavyweight Championship. 35 years ago in Tokyo, Japan as well, Stan Hansen defeated Jumbo Tatsutra to win the NWA International Heavyweight Championship. Also on the card, Hiro Sato defeated Brad Armstrong in a tournament final to become the first PWF World Junior Heavyweight Champion. Moving on, 33 years ago, WWF presented WrestleFest 88 from the Milwaukee County Stadium. 25,866 fans, as I counted each and single one of them back in them days, were in attendance. However, only 2,300 were actually on the edge of their seats. Yes, I wrote that joke. Bad News Brown defeated Bret Hart. Hacksaw Jim Duggan defeated the Honky Tonk Man via DQ in a WWF Intercontinental Championship match. Macho Man Randy Savage defeated Ted DiBiase to retain the WWF Championship. Ultimate Warrior defeated Bobby Heenan. As a result of Heenan's loss, he was forced to wear a weasel suit, and I do believe I have seen this one on VHS a few times. And Hulk Hogan defeated Andre the Giant in a steel cage match. That sounds like a fantastic card when you run down it. That's a pretty good card.
Yeah, a lot of top names on there. I don't know about the whole Duggan Honky Tonk Man match, but it is what it is.
That's right.
But the other matches sounded really good because I think Bad News Brown was very underrated. But him and Bret would have known each other from Stampede days when Bad News Allen was working for Stampede. So yeah, really good card looking there. I believe it probably is on the WWE Network or Peacock if you're watching this from the US. But yeah, they brought out the big blue cage for Hogan and Andre and did that. And I definitely recall seeing the Warrior and Heenan Weasel Suit match, whether it was on WrestleFest VHS or definitely the Self-Destruction of the Ultimate Warrior DVD. Those definitely existed to be seen.
You see, that's a good match for Andre to be in. He's not that mobile. Now he's got a whole cage that he can slink around on. And all right, gonna go back now. 21 years ago on Nitro, Lance Storm defeated Chavo Guerrero via submission to win the WCW Cruiserweight Championship. This win made Storm the only WCW triple champion to hold 3 WCW titles at the same time, as he also held the United States and Hardcore titles.
Well, and as you see in this picture, he changed the logo of all those belts and put a Canadian flag, and the U.S. title became the Canadian title. I think the Cruiserweight one, if that's what he had, was like a something kilo championship belt, and then of course the one that's on his left shoulder was I guess at one point named the Stu Hart international title, but because of it spelling out the word shit, they changed it in protest to the Saskatchewan Hardcore international title. So still saying shit, but Stu Hart was removed from the belt and association with that acronym.
Yikes. 11 years ago, Adam Pearce defeated Chance Prophet, Jimmy Rave, and John Tempers in a 4-way match to win the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. It's a happy 52nd birthday for David Cash, best known to wrestling fans as Kid Cash. He would gain popularity in part because he looks like Kid Rock. He is also a former brief ECW TV champ. He would leave ECW after it shut down to join WCW just before its demise. He joined TNA and become the NWA Tag Champ twice, go to the WWE and hold the Cruiserweight title for 6 weeks. He'd do the indie scene and back to TNA in 2010. He would leave TNA again in 2013 and retire in the indies on December of 2015. I'm not sure the exact date in December, but there you go. And it's a happy 59th birthday for John Hodger Laryngitis.
Yeah, this guy totally boggles my mind with who he's related to, how he's presented, and everything. Like, just so different than what you would ever imagine this guy to be. Because if you look back at his some of his original looks, he had the blonde spiked hair, sort of mullet, and was teamed with Shane Douglas doing the Dynamic Dudes, coming in on skateboards. Sometimes he didn't ride the skateboard because, God forbid, he actually learned how. So you got this neon goof with a 90s sort of look to him. I wish I'd found that picture to show an example. But then, he becomes a star in Japan, gets hired by WCW as an executive, gets hired by Jim Ross as his protege or something like that in WWE, and gets this whole suit position. And that's what you see on screen right now. And he became the general manager and people power and rode around on a scooter. He's back after being let go for a little while. But then to realize that he is the brother of Road Warrior Animal, and he's now the father-in-law to Daniel Bryan, or Bryan Danielson, because he married Brie and Nikki Bella's mom. Like, oh my God, this whole family, the way that's all connected now. Road Warrior Animal, Bryan Danielson, and John Laurinaitis and the Bella twins are one family. Who would have ever thought that would have happened? You're muted. Hey, Chris, we have to stop. I can't hear you at all. So I'm going to have to do some editing. Can you hear me? And now you're totally frozen.
Oh, there you are.
There you are. You were totally frozen.
What happened?
I don't know. I talked about John Laurinaitis being the stepfather of the Bella twins, and poof, you're done.
Well, I'm back. What do you want to pick it up?
Okay. We'll pick it up with.
You don't even have to edit it. Who cares?
No, I'm going to edit it out.
Okay.
So August 1st will start in 3, 2, 1.
All right. On the August 1st, 144 years ago today, George Carl Julius Hackenschmidt, famed pro wrestler and strongman. He was born on August 1st, 1877. His feats of strength astounded anyone that witnessed them, among them lifting a small horse, lifting 276 pounds with one hand, and bench pressing a 335-pound barbell from the wrestler's bridge position. He would become a prize cyclist, wrestler, and weightlifter. He would die at the age of 90. He was inducted into the 2016 WWE Hall of Fame. And as you can tell, if you're looking at the picture on the screen, he was a beautiful man. Big legs, wow. 49 years ago, wrestler and promoter Fred Ray Gunkel died of heart trauma following a match against Ox Baker. Gunkel would suffer a deadly blood clot hours after Ox Baker delivered the heart punch during a match. He was only 48. The punch itself is not what killed him. It was a ongoing, I believe, heart condition he had, and it was only aggravated, I believe, by the punch. But anyways, Baker would use that, and he actually was able to claim that he killed the guy in the ring. So good for him, I guess. 27 years ago on Monday Night Raw, Shawn Michaels defeated Razor Ramon in Michaels' first match since WrestleMania 10. Bull Nakano and Alundra Blaze fought to a double countout. This wasn't the first time Nakano wrestled in the WWF ring. She did that way back in 1986 against Velvet McIntyre and Dawn Marie Johnson.
Yeah,
Vince McMahon. Sorry, go ahead.
I tried to find a photo of that, and it's not possible, but it's so amazing to see what she looked like then in 93, and I got to see her in 2018, and totally different woman.
Yes. Yes, very pretty woman. See, I knew she was pretty. Even when she came in as Mo Nakano with the big hair, there's a pretty lady there. You remember me, I used to say, hey, that's a pretty lady.
Yep.
Yeah, you didn't believe me. I tried that same thing with, God, I can't remember the other much fatter women wrestler. I can't remember now. I thought she was kind of pretty too. Anyways, Vince McMahon on that show was back on Raw after time away dealing with the steroid trial. They also taped a SummerSlam Spectacular that would air in place of Raw for the next week. And in the main event of that show, The Undertaker, Brian Lee, would defeat Sonny Rogers.
Yeah, and then I just recently heard, because you're talking about the Vince McMahon being back on Raw first time after dealing with the steroid trial, that they're actually going to make some sort of fictional TV show involving the U.S. government versus Vince McMahon. And
that could be a very actually interesting watch, depending how they do it.
So look forward to that coming out soon. And so there's a couple of other things. I think Netflix is doing a Vince McMahon documentary as well. So Vince, after all these years of not being totally open to his personal life being seen and all that, looks like he's going to be cashing in on his likeness, whether it's somebody playing him in 1993, 94, or with cameras following him around for a change, and not on his own network doing a documentary.
Will be interesting. I will definitely watch that. 15 years ago on ECW from New York City, CM Punk makes his WWE in-ring debut with a submission victory over Justin Credible. The main event featured Big Show defeating Bautista by DQ. The match blew, and the fans at the Hammerstein let them know it with chants like boring, same old shit, and changed the channel. It turned out to be the last card at the Ballroom until Raw 25. And I only question that because they did have a match there, did they not? At the Raw 25 at the Hammerstein?
Yeah, during Raw 25, they did a match, and also DX was there, and everybody, I think Seth Rollins, a couple others did a segment. Jerry Lawler and JR were there, and that was one of the things that did not impress JR for being brought in for just a little bit of a segment that was done at the Hammerstein. But, they still got to get a paycheck that day, so be happy. And might not have been the best thing, but what can you do when you got 3-hour show between two different arenas?
Now he knows how some of the side cast of the original Star Trek felt. So 10 years ago on Raw from Indiana, Beth Phoenix last eliminates the Bella Twins, Brie and Nikki, to earn a WWE Divas Championship match at SummerSlam. And during the match, Gail Kim was instructed to be eliminated within the first minute of the match. She eliminated herself by going under the bottom rope. That would be the last appearance for her as she quit the WWE 4 days later.
Very good talent in Gail Kim.
Yes.
But I think she was better served in the long run going over to TNA and being an inspiration and leader for the women over there.
Well, I think at that time, if you wanted to wrestle and you may not make as much money, but if you want to wrestle and hone your craft, it'd be better to do it over at TNA at that time.
Oh, of course.
6 years ago in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, Ronda Rousey defeated Beth Correa, there we go, by knockout in just 34 seconds to retain the UFC Women's Bantamweight Championship. After the match, she dedicated the victory to Rowdy Piper, who died just a day earlier.
Yeah, it was at camp when I heard about Roddy dying 6 years ago, and it was just like, whoa, what?
I would have been at let's see, when was this? How many? 6 years? Yeah, I would have been at a Rib Fest. That would have been sad. I remember hearing about Michael Jackson at a festival as well. Anywho, August 2nd, 59 years ago in Toronto, in a title defense, the NWA champion lost to Bruno Sammartino. However, Sammartino declined the title due to Rogers suffering a groin injury during the match. Oh, that's so nice of him. 29 years ago in Baltimore, Ron Simmons defeated Big Van Vader to win the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Simmons was a replacement after Sting was taken out by the WCW debut of Jake the Snake Roberts on a taping of Saturday Night. A draw was done to determine a new challenger. Never trust a snake. Stink.
Just want to go back a moment because we got distracted by talking about Roddy Piper. But also on August 1st is the 49th birthday of Devon Edgar Hughes, also known as TNA and WWE Hall of Famer Devon Dudley.
Dudley.
And he works backstage as an agent for WWE and has two twin sons that would be nice if they ever made their way to WWE. I imagine the twin sons of Devon versus the twin sons of Rikishi, should I say, being the Usos against the Hughes twins. And of course, it is happy 56th birthday to Michael Layali Hayner, also known as two-time former WCW Cruiserweight Champion and TV Champion, Prince Ikea.
Yeah. I liked him when he was Prince Ikea. Prince Ikea, that's funny. Anyways, I'm just going to continue. I liked him until they changed his persona. So we're moving on now. We're back on August 2nd. Thank you for covering those that I missed. There we go, Ron Simmons. So 29 years ago in Baltimore, Ron Simmons defeated Big Van Vader to win the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Simmons was a replacement after Sting was taken out by the WCW debut of Jake Snake Roberts. On the taping of Saturday Night, a draw was done to determine a new challenger. Never trust a snake. Sting. And I just read that before that. I just remember now. Oh, well. Just pretend it was an 8-track and he accidentally pressed the button. There you go. 23 years ago, ECW presented Hardcore 98 from Dayton, Ohio. This would be ECW's most watched pay-per-view. Masato Tanaka defeated Mike Awesome. Sabu and Rob Van Dam defeated Hayabusa and Jinzi Shinzaki to retain the ECW World Tag Team Championship. Taz defeated Bam Bam Bigelow via submission in a Falls Count Anywhere match to retain the FTW Championship. And Tommy Dreamer, the Sandman, and Spike Dudley defeated Bubba Ray, Devon, and Big Dick Dudley. 16 years ago at a Velocity taping, the only title change on the entire run of the show happened as Nunzio defeated Paul London to win the WWE Cruiserweight Championship. That's a good trivia question right there.
Good old Nunzio.
Yeah. 13 years ago, Ric Flair was released from WWE just 4 months after his retirement match at WrestleMania 24.
And
Flair
he got
requested
released
his...
again.
Sorry, go ahead.
And he asked for his request or his release just a few days ago and got it. Now rumored to be showing up, not surprisingly enough, over in AEW as a manager.
And you know what? That's fine.
Yeah,
WWE ain't going to sweat it. They'll be fine.
He wasn't happy with his creative, so he's asked for his release. That saves WWE some more money.
Yep. Let's see. So Flair would go work for TNA until he finally got fired for bugging TNA to fire him. TNA filed a tampering lawsuit against Flair for deliberately trying to get fired. He'd, of course, returned to the WWE in 2012. And now he's gone again. 13 years ago, Ring of Honor presented Death Before Dishonor 6. Eddie Edwards defeated Roderick Strong. Brent Albright defeated Adam Pearce to win the NWA World Heavyweight Belt. Austin Aries defeated Jimmy Jacobs and Necro Butcher. And Nigel McGuinness defeated Bryan Danielson, Claudio Castagnino, and Tyler Black in a 4-way elimination match to retain the ROH World Championship. It's a happy 57th birthday for George Ernesto Guzman Rodriguez, a.k.a. luchador legend El Hijo de Santito, as he is sometimes called. He would be the only sibling of 10 to follow in his legendary father's footsteps, El Santo, and he'd do it without his father's blessing. Ooh. He would go on to win the Rookie of the Year in 83, win the UWA World Lightweight Championship in 85, the UWA and WWA's welterweight titles in 91, and he would join the newly formed AAA in 91. He would go on to great success and even star in his own animated series.
Well, he looks like a superhero as being a luchador.
Yes, absolutely.
Not surprised that he gets
lots of silver. I'm not a fan of the silver and green combo, but hey. August 3rd, 25 years ago, ECW presented The Doctor Is In from the ECW Arena in Philly. This would be the ECW debut of Dr. Death Steve Williams. Mikey Whipwreck defeated Devon Storm to retain the European Junior Heavyweight Championship. Too Cold Scorpio defeated Chris Jericho in Jericho's final ECW appearance. Taz and Brian Lee defeated Tommy Dreamer and Dr. Death Steve Williams. And Sabu defeated Rob Van Dam in a stretcher match. And I have seen that stretcher match. It is quite fun. 24 years ago, WWF presented SummerSlam Heart and Soul from New Jersey. Michael Cole would make his debut replacing Todd Pettengill in his final WWF appearance. Mankind defeated Hunter Hearst Helmsley in a steel cage match. Goldust defeated Brian Pillman. As a result of the match, Pillman was forced to wear a dress the next night on Raw. Unfortunately, I remember that. Stone Cold Steve Austin didn't have to kiss Owen's ass after he defeated the King Hearts to win the WWF IC belt. And Sean, tell us about what went down at the end of this match.
Yeah, that was a very awkward thing because unfortunately the Hearts were painted into a corner in a way where there was a stipulation that if the Hearts lost, something was going to happen to them. Later on, you're going to mention with the main event, the stipulation with that. But there was British Bulldog. If he lost to Shamrock, he was going to have to eat dog food. You mentioned about Pillman having to wear a dress if he lost, and he did lose. And then you got Owen, who, if Austin had lost, he was going to have to kiss Owen's ass. And that wasn't going to ever happen. and obviously wasn't scheduled to happen. But then, unfortunately, Owen did a tombstone pile driver, and instead of dropping to his knees, he jumped and went ass first onto the mat, and uh, Steve's head was a little bit below Owen's thighs, and it totally jammed up Austin's neck. And Owen was able to waste some time and gloat in front of the fans while Steve was trying to get feeling back into his fingers because he'd lost feeling there, and he was talking to the referee and everything. And unfortunately, because they needed to keep the stipulation away from him kissing Owen's ass, they had to come with a way of getting out of the match and the title onto Steve. And it was a very weak schoolboy, which Owen just laid there for. And Steve got the title, didn't have to kiss Owen's ass, and things were right with the world, at least for that night. But then they found out damage to Steve's neck and having to give up the title, and unfortunately shortened Steve Austin's career drastically by having that botched tombstone pile driver. And I think in the history of Owen's career, that's probably the only time a Hart, for that matter, ever accidentally hurt somebody in the ring.
Yeah, that was tough to watch, and thankfully, Austin was able to come back, even though not for as long as I'm sure he'd like to have. And on that main event, Bret Hart defeated The Undertaker to win the WWF Championship. Shawn Michaels was the special referee. Late in the bout, Michaels would hit Undertaker with a steel chair intended for Bret after Bret spat in Shawn's face. With the win, Hart joined Hulk Hogan as the only 5-time WWF champion in company history.
Yeah, that match, I guess we don't have the stipulation for that one, but had Undertaker retained the championship and Bret lost, he was not going to be able to wrestle on American soil ever again. This was during the time when Canada and US just fell in a really good place. Were battling each other, and the Canadians were good when they were in Canada, and the Americans were heels, and the Canadians were heels in the U.S., and the Americans were faces. And unique time when people could bounce back and forth and play the different roles in the ring in front of the fans. And then, of course, I was going to point out with the fact that you mentioned that Bret spit in Shawn's face. Bret has a way of having really thick loogies that you can tell that they got hit with something, because he did it to Shawn at the SummerSlam, and then to Vince at Survivor Series, and you could tell that was loaded. So
he can make big loaded loogies. Pardon me, I'm having trouble with my voice.
Yeah, no problem.
It's a happy 55th birthday for Eric Scott Ash, aka mixed martial artist Butterbean. Sean, if you can take this, I can't talk.
Yeah, no problem. Butterbean was known in WWE for showing up at WrestleMania 15 and knocking out the winner of the Brawl for All, the ill-fated Brawl for All tournament that WWE put on, that being Bart Gunn, in record time. I see Butterbean here, just a really massive man of really needing to get a suntan, but looks meaner here than he did at WrestleMania 15, especially adding the goatee. But yeah, Butterbean really only made that one appearance in the world of professional wrestling, when the rest of the time spent.
You could have played a real good Friar Tuck.
Yes, doing mixed martial arts. Are you back?
Oh, I'm here.
Okay.
You can continue.
Okay. It's also it would have been the 86th birthday for William D. Haystacks Calhoun. Haystacks Calhoun was a very large man who could just barely get around. It looked like I unfortunately never got to see Haystack Calhoun, but he would have been his 86th birthday on August 3rd.
All right, I'm going to try this again. August 4th, 32 years ago, World Class Wrestling Association merged with the Memphis-based Continental Wrestling Association to form the United States Wrestling Association. Man, that's a lot of associations.
Yeah, so that's basically the Von Erichs merging with Lawler and Jerry Jarrett, with the control staying basically with Lawler and Jarrett for that. And then, of course, Lawler was like 50-time champion, losing it every other week to somebody new or whatever. Crazy amount of time. But when you're the owner, you can book yourself that way.
Yeah, but it makes the belt useless.
Pretty much.
26 years ago, SMW presented Super Bowl Wrestling from Knoxville, Tennessee. The Heavenly Bodies would defeat the Thugs, which was Tony Anthony and Tracy Smothers, to win the SMW Tag Team Championship. The Bodies would turn out to be the last SMW Tag Team champs, as the promotion would shut down 5 months later. And that would be December.
At least
24 years. Oh, sorry.
At least Jim Cornette landed on his feet and brought the Heavenly Bodies with him to WWE. And Dr. Tom Pritchard is still somewhat working with WWE and also has his own wrestling school with the mayor of Knox County, Kane.
That is cool.
Yeah, of course, Corny has his 2 podcasts and is not short on controversy.
No, not at all. 24 years ago, on the 100th episode of WCW Monday Nitro, yikes, Lex Luger defeated Hollywood Hogan via submission to win the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. This was Luger's second gold title win. It wouldn't last long, as Hogan won it back 5 days later at Road Wild in 97. The 100th episode was really number 99, as WCW counted the internet-only Nitro as an episode. 13 years ago on Raw from Knoxville, Tennessee, Batista and John Cena defeated Legacy, Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase Jr., to win the WWE World Tag Team Championship. However, they would drop the titles back to Legacy 1 week later.
Hot potato.
Hot potato. It's a happy 40th birthday of Frank Gilderman, a.k.a. Frankie Kazarian. He is a 5-time TNA X Division champion and twice tag team champion. He also won the PWG World title once in 2003, he won it twice, once in 2003 and again in 2004. After spending nearly a decade in TNA, he would have a run in ROH, winning the tag titles with Christopher Daniels, and he would pop up in AEW, and I think he's still there.
Yeah, he's still there, and him and Daniels ended up adding Scorpio Sky as part of SCU, and they were the first ever AEW Tag Team Champions.
Nice. It's a happy 55th birthday to Kensuke Sasaki. Sasaki is one of just 2 men to hold every major Pursuo heavyweight championships, which was 5 times IWGP heavyweight champion, the All Japan Triple Crown championship, and Pro Wrestling Noah's GHC heavyweight championship. He also briefly held the WCW United States Championship in late of 95. It's a happy 60th birthday to Dean Simon, a.k.a. the man of 1,000 holds, Dean Malenko. He's a 2-time ECW television champion, 4-time WCW Cruiserweight champion, United States champion, and tag team champion, and twice lightweight heavyweight champion in the WWF.
Yeah.
Sorry?
He's currently working as a coach over in AEW after many years working behind the scenes in WWE. And people may or may not know this little tidbit, but you mentioned his real name being Dean Simon.
Oh, yes.
Well, those who were fans of Nova in ECW, when he came over to WWE as the fitness guru, Simon Dean
Simon
was
Dean.
named after Dean Malenko.
Cool. Did not know that. Let's see now. The 80s, Where's the Beef Lady, Clara Peller, would have been 105 today. She would only be the Wendy's spokesman for a year after she was let go after she did a Prego sauce commercial. Big conspiracy there, apparently. She would make an appearance at WrestleMania 2, declaring her famous line referring to the 200-man battle royal. 200, that must be 20-man battle royal. You don't remember 200 people in there. She would pass away in 87, 9 days before her 85th birthday.
Yeah, I think the Prego people ended up having her use the "Where's the beef" line, which I'm surprised that. And it doesn't say in your report that Wendy's didn't go after Prego for a copyright infringement on that one, but because she took that gimmick from Wendy's and moved over to Prego and did the same thing, obviously without their permission because they're not the same company. That's what ended up screwing her over.
Yep. Oh, well. What you going to do? You get famous, then you screw it up. Then you die.
Kick an 85-year-old lady to the curb.
Yeah. August 5th, 34 years ago at a WCW Worldwide taping in St. Joseph, Missouri, Big Joss, Dustin Rhodes, and Tom Zink defeated the Fabulous Freebirds, being Bad Street, Jimmy Garvin, and Michael Hayes, to win the WCW World Six-Man Tag Team Championship.
And we have actually Doink the Clown, Goldust, and the Z-Man.
Oh, yes. 25 years ago in Tokyo, Japan. Actually, that's a neat kind of little game, is give the real names names that they were and what's the names they are now. Anyways, 25 years ago in Tokyo, Japan, the Great Suzuki would defeat the Ultimo Dragon to win the J Crown tournament. That win had him hold 8 junior heavyweight championships. The ones he did, I will not go through every single one, but the IWGP Junior, the NWA Junior, also the NWA World Welterweight, the War International Junior, the UWA World Junior, WWA World Junior, British Commonwealth, and the WWF Light Heavyweight Championship. And a fun fact, after all that, Suzuki was rushed to the hospital after the match due to fracturing his skull during the bout. But he would make a recovery. I don't know about full, but he made a recovery. 9 years ago, Triple A presented Triple Mania 20 from Mexico City. Some of the matches on that card: La Hermada 187, Joe Linder and Psychosis were defeated by Chessman and Juventud Guerrera. La Familiaria del Tijuana, why did I screw that one up? Extra Tiger and Halloween, and the Hart Foundation 2.0, being Jack Evans and Teddy Hart, in a pre-Josh Suicidas steel cage match. As a result of being the last team eliminated, Linder and Psychosis had to compete against each other in a hair versus hair match later in the show. Linder would lose the match and his hair. Team Joaquin Roldan, being Electroshock and L.A. Park, defeated Team Dorian, Roldan being Jeff Jarrett and Kurt Angle, in a tag team hair versus hair match. Dorian's hair was shaved. El Masis defeated El Hijo del Perro Aguaro to retain the AAA World Heavyweight Championship. And finally, Dr. Wagner Jr. defeated Mascara and 2000 Jr. in a mask versus mask match. Wow, some of their names and all those numbers. God.
I would like to maybe at least see some of this without commentary, because I wouldn't probably understand it, but the action was probably very quick, and
I don't mind the
Very
foreign
impressive.
commentary. I watch a lot of the older Japanese stuff, the hardcore crap, and it's I don't know. Sometimes I don't need to understand. You just listen to the tone of their voice and you just go from there. Kind of like watching a subtitle film. Anyways, and a happy 68th birthday. Oh, sorry, it's a happy 60th birthday to Wallace Stanfield Lane, aka Stan Lane. Lane was a part of the Fabulous Ones with Steve Kern, who was
Skinner.
thank you, in the early 1980s. In the late 80s, he, along with Bobby Eaton, formed a rebooted Midnight Express, winning the NWA United States Tag Team titles 3 times and the World Tag Team titles once. He was also part of the original Heavenly Bodies with Tom Pritchard, holding the Smoky Mountain Wrestling Tag titles 5 times in the promotion's brief history.
And of
And
course,
Lane was a part of the WWF broadcasting team for about a year in the mid-90s.
yeah, and if you go back and see some of the Fabulous One videos, they're kind of almost like Chippendale, I guess, sort of videos. And you don't imagine 2 guys that look like them with bleach blonde hair and brown beards and mustaches being, no. It's just
They look
really,
a little gay.
yeah.
The bottom one's fine. That left top one, yikes.
Yeah, well, watch old videos of the Fabulous Ones.
A couple birthdays, and then we're all done for this week. It's a happy 74th birthday to Rick Derringer. He's the voice behind Hogan's Real American theme and the Demolition theme as well. And he did a duet of his rock and roll Hoochie Coo with Mean Gene Okerlund. He broke into the big time as a member of the McCoys with their number 1 hit, Hang On Sloopy, which I heard him perform at one of the Rock the Parks. He did not do the Real American, which was really sad. He was also a guest musician on Kiss's 1983 album, Lick It Up. And last birthday goes to Mildred Burke. We've talked about her before. Would be her 106th birthday. The icon, she was posthumously inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame inaugural legacy class in 2016. And that is it for This Week in Wrestling. Of course, it is compiled from the vast land of Google, Wikipedia, CageSideSeats.com, and most importantly, from fans and journalists that had front row seats to history. And a big thank you to, of course, our sponsor, CoolBet, CoolBet.com, and sportsbook betting and casino games.
So as always, we want to thank them for being a part of this show. I want to thank you for being a part of it, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, listening to us anywhere on Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or anywhere you get your podcasts from. We appreciate feedback. I am going to actually be off for a little while from my regular job because I'm having a surgery. So I'm going to have plenty of time to be able to do some extra podcasts, maybe do some interviews. So we'll see what I get going with to spend my downtime and not make it fully downtime and get some creative juices going with this. So if you'd like to be a part of the show, know anybody you'd like to see part of the show, whether this one or our podcast, doing interviews, Fantasy Warfare Tournament, have an idea for a show that you'd like to see us do. We can see about doing that. And I got some downtime, as I said, and we'll look to do something creative with it. So get in touch with us over at Twitter, Instagram, over on our Facebook page. Email me at scumbagswrestling@gmail.com. Check out our website, scumbagswrestling.ca. And always find a way of contacting us. And you can also get your apparel at prowrestlingtees.com/scumbagswrestling and support Steven's wrestling journey with buying a t-shirt. So thank you for being a part of this. Get in touch with us if you'd like to be part of a show or have an idea for one. And we will see you later on with an update on 2 weeks of wrestling later on this evening. because I went on vacation last week and missed the show. So we got 2 weeks to catch up on, and let's do that. Anything else you'd like to plug before we get out of here?
Nothing I can think of. The bat. No.
Hot Sauce Expo, end of this month,
Yes.
London, August 28th and 29th. Check out Hot Sauce, chicken wings, beer, hot sauce. What more do you want? So check
And
them
I'm sure
out.
you can follow them on Facebook. They got to be on Facebook.
Yep, they're on Facebook and they have their own website. So check out Hot Sauce Expo coming to London at the end of the month, August 28th and 29th. London is not that far from wherever you are. So join us. Have a good one.
If you want a variety of wrestling news and history, look no further than the Scumbags of Wrestling family of shows. On Wednesday nights at 6 p.m., join Sean, Steven, and Jonesy as we look for the best of the best and break it all down in a unique tournament format on Fantasy Warfare Tournament. Then, Thursdays at noon, take a look back at the rich history of our great sport with This Week in History. Relive title changes, births, deaths, and some of the best events of all time. Finally, join us for the latest in wrestling news, show results, and predictions Thursday nights at 8 p.m. for the Scumbags Wrestling Podcast. The Scumbags of Wrestling can be found on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Instagram, along with our audio versions on Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or anywhere else you get your podcasts from. We're a proud part of the Ontario Indie Wrestling Podcast Network and the Johners Podcast Network.